We are back on Taking Care of Business on Koerner Radio, News Talk 1180, 1230 KGEO, and 1410 KERI. Our guest in studio, political consultant Cathy Abernathy.
Cathy, I'm going to just recap what I said earlier. Obama said he was going to cut taxes. He was going to end the war. He killed Osama. He put insurance regulations on companies, Obamacare as an example, and he planned on reducing the deficit. You're welcome to comment on any of those things at this time.
Well, Clay, you said it better. In fact, that would have been a great opening statement for Romney at the debate, because that is exactly the whole issue here. I'll just take a couple of them. Deficit. You know, this quote is said a lot. I want to just give a little more explanation to it. This president, in 4 years, has raised the deficit by more than all the former presidents combined. And people think, okay, that's George W. Bush, Clinton. Hey, that includes LBJ, that includes FDR, that includes all the way back to Washington, but I'm not blaming Washington as much as the last 40, 60, 70 years. He has done more spending in debt in his 4 years than all of them combined. So for him to be given the keys to the Treasury for the next 4 years, you really have to be blind to what he's done, and which is why he doesn't want to talk about what he's done. He wants to attack the other guy. In terms of peace in the world, and he's ended the war, I don't know which war he's talking about. He can pick a country title, but his so-called Arab Spring, my goodness sakes, that couldn't be a bigger disaster. He doesn't appear to have any relationships that he's building. I would rather prop up some type of a monarch who wasn't a murdering, going after particularly the Christians in his country, than to sit there back and watch it happen and say, I've ended war. Well, you know, United States has always had an attitude that we are going to protect the unprotected. And to see what's going on in the Mideast is heartbreaking. Cut taxes, what he did was he didn't eliminate the Bush tax cuts. Right. He asked people vote for these Bush tax cuts again because he knew he needed them to keep what little he was, all the damage he was doing the economy. It had helped it a little bit from being worse. So there's no record there. His record is keeping Bush's tax cuts, keeping Gitmo open, as Bush was doing. But ultimately, he's failed on the economic front so seriously.
There are some things that Obama has done really well, though. He's put 23 million people out of work. He's got 47 million on food stamps. The economy's not growing, and he's done other failures. So he's doing a great job. Right,
and you know, I saved this little ad. They had an ad, and this is the honest truth, because I was begging my husband, come up with an idea so we can submit it. They were offering $25,000 grant if you came up with ideas of how they could get more people on food stamps, because they feel like they're not reaching all the people that need to be on it, and they wanted more on it, because when more are on it, they become more beholden to the government.
Yes, which is kind of what Romney said. So let's go local a little bit. Let's talk about, we were going to talk a little bit about the assembly race.
You know, we have two very hot races here in Kern County, and they're really important. The state legislature is teetering between having Democrats having complete two-thirds control of the legislature. If they do that, they can pass any tax they want. What they're doing in the interim is passing fees. You just saw this fire tax. It's not a fee, but it's a fire tax hitting Tehachapi and all over the state. And they will be able to get away with it rampant if they win this seat that we would call the new 32nd seat. It's Kings County and part of Kern County, Arvin, Lamont, Delano, Shafter. We are campaigning for a Republican, Hispanic, born in Mexico, U.S. citizen, the only candidate in the race that actually speaks Spanish, Pedro Rios, who's running against Rudy Salas. And the reason I do want to talk about it today is that while you say Rudy Salas may be a good guy, you have to say to yourself, this is his first shot at running for the state assembly. And all he can do in his ad campaign on the radio is to tell you something and mislead you about his opponent.
Yes.
His opponent was 21 years old, in college, working at a 7-Eleven type store. It was a police sting. Nobody drank the alcohol or the wine cooler. The cop was a friend standing right next to him and said, hey, you didn't card that lady, and she's not 21. And it was a police sting. He paid the fine. He never got in trouble again, and he worked there another year and a half. He went to college. He went in the military. He got a teaching degree. He still has his credential, but the ads that you hear are from Rudy Salas, say that Pedro Rios got busted and lost his credential and got busted serving to minors. It's all false.
Minors plural, not
minors plural.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, 0 minors drank any alcohol from that. But the main point is, if that's how you run for public office, then you're deceiving the people here about how you're going to vote when you get there. because just like Flores, who he worked for, just like Rubio, you get up to Sacramento, you're not the Valleycrat. You vote for the Speaker of the Assembly and all the programs he wants. So this race should have been about issues like that, and it instead is Pedro Rios, while he's campaigning, has to also say, my opponent is not telling you the truth about my background.
Yeah, very, very, very misleading, and that's why. Well, I mean, there's no secret here. I think we would have voted for Pedro Rios in any event, but the fact that that ad came out is just it's really disgusting. It really is. It's dirty politics at its best. So
No question about it.
yeah. We're having a conversation with political consultant Cathy Abernathy.
Now, one question though. Let's say Rudy gets elected and they get the supermajority up in Sacramento. What's going to happen with Proposition 13? I keep hearing they're going to get rid of that.
They can do almost anything. When they got 2/3, they don't have to go to the voters anymore at all, like they've been doing. They've had to go to the voters to raise taxes, which is one of the initiatives on the ballot in 3 weeks, or those of you voting absentee, that's Prop 30 and 38. They want to raise taxes, then they have to go to the people. They won't have to do that anymore. They will just ram it through at midnight like they did in late August when they passed 800 bills in 3 days. They will be raising our taxes because that's all this Sacramento crowd knows to do. And so it is really a dangerous situation, no matter even what your philosophy is might be on other issues. If you care about your pocketbook, if you want more of your paycheck to stay in the I always hate it when I used to interview people for jobs and they'd say, and I'd tell them what the salary was, and they'd say, well, no, just tell me what the take home is. I don't want you to ever live that way. I want you to care about what your top line, what your gross pay is, and that net pay should make you darn mad. So I think it's just really important that people that care about that net pay, part of their paycheck, not send another Democrat to Sacramento.
Well, Proposition 13 will cause the taxes to go up on your homes, and if people aren't aware of that, they need to be.
Well, if the legislature overturns it, right.
Right.
Yeah.
And right now, like you said, we're only 2 votes shy of them having a supermajority,
Right.
which really is scary. It makes like a dictator state.
Yeah, you've got a governor who now he'll be in he's in his 12th year as a governor, Democrat, big spender, who granted public employee unions, and then you got a legislature 2/3 Democrat. And this state is drowning in unemployment.
Yeah. You know, Cathy, I knew we were going to run out of time. We only have, a segment and a little bit left. So let's talk about the propositions.
Okay.
So, Proposition 30.
No question, this raises your taxes. It's they use the word temporary, as you all know, that's a joke. Temporary tax increase. They say it's to fund education. There is nothing in there that guarantees it goes to education. But half our budget by law has to go to education. So how much more do we have to give them that we have to keep raising taxes? They need to spend better what they've got. It raises the sales tax. So anyone says it's only affecting rich people, it's not telling you the truth.
And you know, when they talk about rich people, I know there's something in there about S-corps.
Yes.
So a lot of people, small business people, have S-corps. They're not necessarily rich people. It's just
like President Obama, they say rich people. Rich people are generally people with enough money to write you a paycheck. And you know what? When they have to give more of their money to the government instead of to you or to hiring a friend of yours to work there, that's not good for you.
Sure.
So don't listen to this rich people business.
So 30's a no.
30's a no.
You know, I've talked to more teachers, and you would think that teachers would all be in support of this, but I've talked to a lot of teachers that are against this bill because they're tired of seeing their paychecks be reduced.
Sure.
Even if they have to take a short furlough, they'd rather do that than pay the additional taxes.
Well, we'll get to 32, and that's where teachers should take their revenge, and I hope they do.
Right. 31.
31. Really important that you read this one. It's misleading because it talks about a 2-year budget. That's great. It talks about having the publication of legislation in advance of voting. Those are all things a sane legislature would do anyway. But the hook in here, and this is where the unions worked with the authors of this initiative, the hook is this gimmick about tax sharing between the counties. That a county in a community strategic area plan, when I hear that SAP plan, and I say if we vote for this, you are one, that counties can produce a plan, the schools get to vote with your county board of supervisors about a way they're going to budget some monies. They can share it with another county. They have to get approval from the legislature of how they spend their money, and then the legislature will dole out a few nickels to you as a reward. And if you say, well, there's a certain state reg that's really hurting our county, that you can get a waiver from it. All right. Who really thinks that's going to happen? But what it is about really is the big city, the big populated counties that are in red ink want to take money from these rural counties that they aren't spending. And the rural counties are smart not to spend it. So it is a no vote on Prop 31 because it will change the control of your local government to Sacramento and control of your purse strings between other counties that have more population.
Okay, now when we come back from the break, let's talk about the biggie, which is Prop 32.
Yes.
We'll be back in a moment on Taking Care of Business on Koerner Radio News Talk 1180.